the threats or any IT risks, and basically how to build defense mechanisms, manage them, and respond to cyber attacks as accountants. As it will be delivered by our good facilitator, Mr. ICPAU Mustafa Mugisa, commonly known as AKA, aka Mr. Strategy. Before I come into the details of who is the facilitator and actually what we need to look up to, allow me to present a few issues that I need to give a background of today's webinar. I would like to implore, I think, every one of the members here on the platform to pay attention, as everybody, I expect, will greatly benefit from today's webinar, as you are aware that the current prevailing conditions, most of the organizations and including accountants, I think most of us were embracing the remote working, which is largely enabled by information technology. And the moment most of the operations are dependent on information technology, then here comes in the cyber threats, which is basically today's session that we need to appreciate. The cyber criminals are normally interested in collecting financial, medical data, but not only that, all the businesses that use networks can be targeted for customer data, corporate espionage, or customer attacks. And as some of you may be aware of which the details will be presented to you, just pay attention. The global cyber threats continue to evolve at a rapid pace. Around 2013, 7.9 billion records had been exposed by data breaches. Can you imagine? How about in terms of 2020? What do you expect? At the same time, there's one of the report that had been made by PricewaterhouseCoopers, in which the cybercrime had been mentioned as the second most reported type of economic crime. And it's on this basis that we actually need to be careful. We appreciate today's message. And most of you are aware, Yahoo data breach, over 1.5 users data was breached, including myself. My email was hacked, and at the same time, up to now, I still have the impact in terms of the different hackers trying to get some information from myself. Therefore, you're aware that accountants, we are known of handling and harboring client-sensitive information. Remember, hackers are much more interested in such information, and I bet we are on their list of the targeted groups. And it's on the basis that I implore most of you to pay much attention. You need to post all your questions in the Q&A. Please avoid posting any question on the chat platform, because it may be overloaded and we fail to pick your question. So please post all your questions under the Q&A. We shall pick them, deliver them to the facilitator, who will actually give you the expertise opinion. We greatly need basically to take steps on how to protect both of our own and clients' business sensitive information. I think with that simple background, I need to introduce to you our beloved facilitator. He's called ICPAU Mustafa B. Mugisa, aka Mr. Strategy. Our beloved presenter, Mustafa, is one of those rare people who provides value-based consulting to professionals and corporate entities who demand the very best. He's one of the prolific speakers, a governance expert, and the cybersecurity researcher. He is also a certified public accountant, implying that he's our fellow CPA, a certified ethical hacker, computer hacking forensic investigator, and at the same time, cybersecurity researcher. He's in fact a founding director of the Institute of Forensic and ICT Security. By the end of this webinar, all of you, you'll be in a position to learn about the state of cyber crimes in Uganda, the common cyber crime schemes, and the practical demos of how cyber criminals conduct security breaches. You are also going to know whether you are actually safe online or not, as I already noted that most of you actually, I know, you're working remotely and therefore you're embracing the information technology. to do most of your operations, in which our clients' information and our own information as auditors or accountants gets to be exposed to cyber threats. Please join me to welcome CPA Mugisa. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Nicholas Mushaventa. I think you have done justice to the introduction, but I'm going to keep my check since COVID has meant that we do a lot of work remotely. I'm called Mustafa, as ably introduced by my brother Nicholas, CPA Nicholas. And the members, I see we are around 300 on this call. You are welcome. As Nicholas has pointed out, by the end of this webinar, you are going to learn a lot about the state of cybercrime in Uganda and the common attack vectors, how people are committing fraud and the cyber-related schemes. Just a week ago, someone called me and he was telling us how they wanted us to help them recover their email. And this is a Google email. And they are wondering, we have a lot of information in the cloud email, company data, body papers. Because of COVID, we had to allow remote working, and the people were comfortable just sending the official documents to their private emails. And one of the biggest challenges which arises, you find that many organizations in this case have not yet implemented things like bring your own device policy or use your own cloud email policy. So it becomes very difficult for people like this, especially a company, to get redress when instances like this have happened. So trying to first thing first, not only you need first to ask yourself, how did somebody be able to take over an email, which is a Gmail of somebody, if this particular person had what we call basic cyber hygiene? When we mean basic cyber hygiene, we are meaning that you implement at a personal level minimum practices which improve your cyber resilience. With COVID, people are saying you must wear a face mask, you must wash your hands and sanitize yourself, and of course keep social distance. So we were calling that the basic hygiene at a personal level to prevent COVID. But also the basic hygiene at a personal level to prevent cyber crime incidences is one. On your Gmail, you implement what we call two-factor authentication. Nobody changes your email unless they use a code which comes on your mobile phone. But research done recently shows that almost 80% of the people with cloud accounts have not implemented security provisions which are available by the tech providers. Currently, all major organizations, whether it is Facebook, whether it is the LinkedIn, whether it is Google, whether it is Yahoo, my brother Nicholas has said also his email was hacked. It is because basic cyber hygiene, like your password, making sure that nobody changes it unless they put a code which comes on your mobile phone. So in reality, it means that when somebody wants to change or log into your email, they cannot do so unless they put a code which has come on your mobile phone. So the chances of a person having your phone and also hacking into your email is very low. It is likely that the person will be maybe your friend or relative. So from that level, they are managing the problem. So before I go far, I'm going to introduce my colleagues. On the call, I thought we should have variety because I know we have so many accountants who are going to learn. So I put my entire team, three of my colleagues who are in cybersecurity research, in computer forensics on this call. So we have Pius Babiesiza. Pius, can you please say hi?
Hello, good afternoon, members, and welcome to today's webinar. Pius Babiesiza are my names as introduced. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Pius. Pius is our Director of Forensics and ICT Security at Summit Consulting. Also, we have Peter Magameso, is our cybersecurity researcher. Peter, please wave to the members.
Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. We shall learn a lot and from one another. Thank you.
And finally, we also have Boniface Jest. Jest is a developer, cybersecurity researcher, and somebody who is very passionate about productivity, Microsoft Office productivity, making the most of it and how to the vulnerabilities they are from. So just please say hi to the members.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am just Boniface saying thank you.
So thank you very much. And what we are going to cover, if you read, you see on the screen before you, I hope everybody can hear me, is why the cyber risk? Why should we be concerned about the conversation of cyber? Long time, I began personally as a student of, as an accountant. And when I was working in Nile Bank, I came at a time when the bank was trying to automate. I remember vividly, by then Nile Bank had a CEO called Bentley from Britain. And then our own member, Richard Biarugawa, was a chief operations officer. And Richard had just returned from London. And he was in charge of the bank, and the strategic focus was automate. So I found that myself entering into a bank at a time when all the records which were there at that time were manual. So the project which was taking place was scanning all those manual records and putting them into the then microbanker, the then core banking application, which was called microbanker. And it was a huge, if you know where Spear Motors used to be, that entire building, the basement was full of personnel records. And when you come, your work was to go there and begin scanning them. So at that time, studying accounting, I realized that it is not going to be competitive unless somebody also embraces technology. Because as accountants, we want to be at the center of the discussion. So you are looking at how do I come away from the sidelines, from the kitchen to the boardroom or to the center of the table. And that means that you must be able to speak about strategy and speak about the drivers of the business. And how do you do this? You do this by having conversations to the CEO, which they need. Already with finance as the lifeblood of any business, we have that opportunity. And this is why we are seeing currently many of our members are becoming CEOs, from NSSF to Umeme and so many other companies, especially financial institutions. This is very good. But now the CEO who is now, who needs the people around him who not only understand finance risks, but understand all the attendant critical risks. Currently, if you look at any budget of an organization, the investment in ICT infrastructure is the #1 for competitiveness. And when you look at the overall scheme of things, platform business has taken the world. Globally, we were learning about companies like Total, we are learning about companies like Shell, BP, learning about companies like Ford. These companies owning almost a country, a land the size of Uganda as their asset. But now when you look at the top companies in terms of unicorns, blue chip companies in the world, you are seeing companies like Google who don't own any land or any physical assets. You are looking at companies like Facebook, companies like Twitter, companies like Amazon, currently is #1 global most valuable company in the world, Apple. Reason being that you cannot divorce understanding of the cyber investment and the attendant risks in the conversation. So by the end of this conversation, we are going to understand why as accountants we must be careful and take interest into the cybercrime, and how do we advise policy, even at government level, of the need to understand this risk and prioritize resources to invest in it. We're also going to look at the common attack vectors in Uganda. At Summit Consulting, we do what we call Project Frontline. Project Frontline is a report we began publishing in 2018 to respond to the increasing threat and attack vectors in organizations. The biggest challenge in this country is the inability to collect data to make decisions informed by data. So when you ask somebody how much, for example, do you lose annually to cybercrime, you find this information is not, there's nowhere you can find it. So in a Project Frontline, we look at the clients we have worked on and give you a generic representation of the common attacks when we go to investigate in banks. We are happy that we have been able to get business in Uganda, but also in Kenya and in Tanzania and in Rwanda. And so we are able to give you a regional outlook. But for this conversation, we're going to show you in Uganda, what is the common attack vector, which you as accountants, when you are doing strategy and advising the management on where to put resources. But most importantly, when you are auditing and you are adding value to the management letter, what kind of conversations should you include in the audit, in the management letter, so that somebody feels that it is enriched and it is speaking to the heart of the business. And finally, we will show you the next steps, where to go for more resources and how to transform your own practice and also your own profession by embracing this. Do we have anything to add on, Pius, or we just continue?
Wonderful, Mustafa. Thank you very much. I think we can continue.
Okay, so members, I'm going to ask just to share this link on the chat so that everybody, if you can type that link, if you can go to the chat, we are going to take 1 minute to complete a simple survey so that we can assess who you are and where you are coming from and your understanding of the cyber problem, so that we give content which is relevant to you based on the many people on this call. So can you share on the chat, Pius, or I need to first stop the sharing? Can you share the link, this link? Can everybody see the link? Okay, let me just do it here.
No, we're seeing it.
I want to save your time so that you just copy and paste it into your URL. So let me send it on your, okay, I have put it on the chat. If you check on the chat, you should find a link which I want you to just click on and complete those questions to just see the overall posture of your cyber resilience. Let me also add it in the Q&A. Okay, so I hope everybody has received it. Unfortunately, I can only answer. So let me put an answer. Okay. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. Let me just share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? I want you to go to this link individually, whether you are on mobile phone or on your laptop, and just complete this simple question survey. I hope everybody can see my screen. Mr. Tangare, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yes, Nicholas, my chairman. Okay, so I want members on this call, all of you to complete. The first question is, which level are you at the organization you work? Are you at shareholder level, in which case you are a founder of a firm, an audit firm or a consulting firm like myself? Are you at the board level? Are you at director level? Are you at exco level? Are you are unemployed? So if you are at that level, for purposes of this demo, I will say maybe next. And then how much do you estimate your organization loses annually due to cybercrime or other similar incidents? I hope members, we have completed this question. I'm going to select to see, assuming I put less than 5 million, I'm going to see how many members have so far submitted, because we will need to move faster. I know time is running. So far we have 109 members, so we need to continue. If we can go to something like 200, then we can, because I see 400 members. Okay, so let me redo again and see how many people have completed. Okay, so which level are you in the organization? Personal, I'm a shareholder, owner, strategic level. And how much do you estimate? Maybe I can say I estimate less than 5 million. Let me see. Okay. Okay, 149. I think for purposes of moving on, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to proceed. So on average, hello?
Yes, please continue.
Yes, so on average, we have people, 15% of, 10% of the people on this call are the founders of the business. And this is very good to have this kind of representation, because the cyber crime and the cyber agenda, last year we had the conversations with around 5 boards, bank boards in Uganda, where we are talking about cyber crime. And the most important thing was the ownership from the board. If the board does not appreciate the problem at hand, it is unlikely to allocate resources to manage the problem. So when we see people are at this level, including the other 5%, at that level, director level, we have around, that's around 23%. That is a very good representation. Basically, I would say 28%, that is fantastic. And then at manager level, we have 31. Manager level is the bridge between the top and the operation. So I would say that we have a very good representation. Unfortunately, regardless of the level you are, all of us are vulnerable to cybercrime. The problem depends on the intensity and the kind of records you have. If, for example, you are a board member, if I want to hack maybe to put the national security at risk, I will look at the weakest link. I will look at, for example, a member of parliament who has got an iPad or an iPhone, but that member of parliament does not know how to keep it safe. The government does not probably give them internet on their own, so they easily hook onto the Wi-Fi network when they travel at any airport. So the more senior you are, when a hacker hacks into you, the more gold they hit. And that is like an opportunity. Pius, anything to add before we proceed to the next question?
No, I think let's proceed. You've analyzed it very well, Mustafa. Thank you. Okay, so the same thing. So anybody at technical level, the more you go, the more you should be more important. But also we increasingly find people at the tactical level. These are people who are writing transactions, approving payments. I can't tell you how many requests we have got from our business. 40% of our business comes from online. And that means that we're getting customers from Kenya, we are getting them from all over Africa. And this year, for the first time, we got somebody from Dubai, and we see a lot of inquiries from India for learning cybersecurity. And it is very surprising because we thought India has been highly developed when it comes to cybersecurity and automation. But we realized that maybe it is so big that people even, they finding resources abroad, they think also it is very developed. But nevertheless, we have found that most of the time problems relating to finance is instructions to pay. Maybe you have an external vendor and then people, they do what we call spoofing your email. They do man in the middle, get into your email, change the instructions. They send it to the vendor, but with wrong account details. So somebody has the prior information about the common suppliers. The only thing they will say, they know Mustafa is a supplier or Summit Consulting supplies ICPAU. So somebody within ICPAU gets to know this by hacking online and all this kind of information, or even casual talking to staff. So once they know, ICPAU knows that Summit is a supplier, but also the bankers or the customers of ICPAU knows that Summit is a supplier, so we pay them. Somebody will send an instruction to Stanbic Bank and say, pay Summit Consulting, but they make a small change. They only say the account name, they put a name Summit Consultants instead of Summit Consulting, and they put account. And they put as a supplier instruction from ICPAU. We have seen so many accountants making this kind of mistake, and a lot of money has been lost. We shall show you how it is done through man in the middle and how you can avoid it. And that is very good that we have you on call. But let us look at it. Many people are giving us here, I don't know, 47% of the people on this call, they don't know the problem. Now, this is what we call the patient-doctor dilemma. No doctor can give a right diagnosis to any patient unless they know what they're suffering from. And what makes a very good medical doctor is the quality of the diagnosis. So when members put, I don't know, and yet we know that at least we have, you can see, I don't know who is on the phone on this call, but I'm going to ask Chairman Nicholas to disable people who are on the call, who are speaking, especially the panel.
Communicate it just.
the panelists. I see Bosco. Okay.
Just a moment. Hello?
Okay, so I don't know. Nevertheless, you tell Tangari.
Please go ahead. Now it's fine.
Fantastic. So what I was showing you is that you have 10%, you have around the 70, that is 60% of the Ponde call. 70%, but of that 70%, you can see 47 are saying they don't know. Yet they are at top level from management and above. Now that is a very big risk. This means that they could be even losing too much, because if you don't subject yourself for assessment, many of us, they say everybody almost has got some illness or some madness, but until you go for checkup, then you can understand where you fall, whether it is mild or very advanced. Now, the answer of feeling like you are healthy, so that you are not sick, is very deadly, because that's how we lose a lot of money. So when I see this kind of statistics, it is so scary, meaning that people could be stealing from you, but you don't have mechanisms in place to control or stop that. Pius, something to add before we proceed to the next slide? I'm going to...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Barnabas. And as we can clearly see from the statistics, you can see that many of the people do not know the extent of the problem. But if you also go on a little bit on the slide up, in terms of the targets for these cyber criminals, there are more targets at the manager and at the officer level, because these are the people, the drivers of the engine in most organizations. They are the people who make the entries. They are the people who at manager level make the decisions. So that's why we see these cyber criminals, they know they can exploit more when they target this level. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Pius. Now, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the screen before you, we are asking, why do you need to be concerned about cybercrime? The facts on ground, and I am willing to give you a link, which is Brookings.education. They always research. Brookings is one of the global researchers across board. The average cost of cybercrime incidents to an organization is 13 million globally as of today. Now, one of the common attack vector, which we call phishing, each incident costs around $17,000. But most importantly, an average incident of burglary, breaking into a bank and stealing, costs an average of $8,000. So I want you to put this into perspective. You compare $8,100, that is globally every time people have stolen money through burglary, breaking into the bank. The average cost is $8,100. An average cost of one incident, which we call phishing, is $17,700. But globally, we are losing 13 million per organization. Now, if you multiply so many organizations, we are talking about trillions of money lost. And there are so many schemes how this money is lost. But the most important thing I want you to know is many accountants, you go now to any organization, they will have budgeted for physical security. They have put burglar, they have put a strong room, they have put a lot of this kind of manual controls. It's like if I come to an average person in middle class in Uganda, they have put a lot of burglar fence, electricity, and these tall walls. And yet they are all the time online, and their children, even at night, they have a phone which is connected to the internet. Meaning that the cyber criminal is watching, and the biggest threat is in cybercrime. So now it is now an opportunity for us as accountants to advise our leaders very well by asking, let us invest in cybercrime based on the proportion of the investment we make. If technology is the critical driver and bringing a lot of money, why then do we not prioritize? You expect that ICT security, cybersecurity, threat intelligence, what we call
ongoing threat monitoring and cybercrime management should be having a bigger budget because it is more important. But you will be surprised that physical security, people who are following the mobile van, the strengthening the strong room, is spending so much money for financial institutions and an organization than they are doing online. And that is not good strategy, that is not good advice, because it will not, in the end, help anybody. When you look back home, the Uganda cybercrime report, in 2019, we had around 248 cases reported, and the total loss was 11 billion. In 2018, 198 cases reported, the total cost was 610 billion. Now, you are looking at an average value per case. In 2019, it increased each case 11.4, that is 4.46 million per case. And when you look at the 2018, you had around 3.1 million per case. That is huge, just within 1 year. So it means that maybe awareness has created, more people have come to report. But the most important thing which is worrying is the statistic, which shows that only 30% prosecution rate, meaning that most of the cyber criminals hit gold. Nobody followed them up. And there is nothing like people committing a crime and knowing that they will not be punished, which fuels crime like that. Pius.
Today's criminal is changing. It's no longer the criminal who will break in at night. It is the criminal who will work day. It's the criminal who works night. And it's worse because this criminal is now a white-collar criminal. He works all the time. He knows what to do. So organizations and the individuals that run these organizations need to learn even much more about this criminal if they are to protect themselves against this criminal and fight him. Back to you, Mustafa.
Yes, so now when you go deep into the report, Uganda cybercrime report, you can see the last item, 68 of the cases are what we call electronic fraud. But of course, there are so many other schemes. You can see unauthorized access. This means that you have your Gmail or you have your Facebook account, somebody hacks into it and accesses it when you have not authorized them. In a physical world, it is somebody comes into your home, goes through the gate, and you see them in the sitting room when you didn't invite them. Then you have obtaining money by false pretense. You have seen these kind of schemes on Facebook where somebody opens an account of John Intangare, and he says, I am John Intangare, I traveled to Dubai, but my passport was stolen. I'm requesting that you send me some money. So people who are friends of John, for example, will begin sending donations thinking that actually it is him. So by the time he realizes his identity has been stolen, it is too late. So you have 20 cases like that. Remember, these are only people who reported. And then you have offensive communication. This is now one of the biggest challenges in Uganda, whereby people, you have seen it recently, they arrested people who are trying to sing about this kind of tribalism and things like that. So all these kind of things fall under offensive communication. And in Uganda, we have got what we call Computer Misuse Act. So these kind of crimes are provided for, and they can be prosecuted if they can be proved that they have been breached. But also we have a right to freedom of speech. So these are the kind of things which are always happening on the internet. Internet freedom vis-a-vis freedom of speech, vis-a-vis now offensive communication and slander and disuse. So, but most importantly, when it comes to offensive communication, people share things online and abusing others. And you have seen it. To this end, currently, Turkey government is passing a law at national level compelling the big social media providers like Facebook, LinkedIn, to pull down content if they are operating in their country. So we are seeing this kind of developments because countries become helpless
in the face of big tech giants like Amazon, like Facebook, because these people or these companies are really richer than the almost Africa combined. You find that the net worth of the market value of Apple is more than the whole of African GDP. So it becomes very difficult for a given government in Africa to get redress legally or subpoena for a given content to be put down. But now countries are saying, if you are going to have our people access your platform in our country, you must follow our rules, and this is what they are saying. Nevertheless, this gives you a picture of the common attack vectors, and which are a big problem. Now, I told you about our own project Frontline. Whereas this is what Uganda police gave us in terms of the problem. In 2019, according to Uganda police, 11 billion was lost countrywide. In our report, 2017, we had 15 cases, and this was a total 5 billion, 5.4 billion. In Project Frontline, what we call by Project Frontline, we mean people at the forefront of responding to incidents. When we are at Summit Consulting, a client calls us and says, there is an incident, we want you to come and investigate. They give us an engagement and we go to investigate. So the cases only we respond to. Now in this case, we are giving you the cases only we responded to. In 2017, we had 15 cases we investigated. In 2018, we had 26 cases. In 2019, we had 28 cases. Total value of these cases total to 13 billion. So this is our own frontline engagement. And now you can see how the problem is. We make only generalized, so you can, we just show you this is basically cases in Uganda, and you may not know the organization and the industry, but we are giving you the cases now. If you have all the audit firms also giving you these statistics as people at the front line, the case could be bigger than we know, because cybercrime is like a rape. Nobody, there are very few people, because of the privacy involved, who are going to go and report and say, this has happened to me. So many people choose to suffer silently and they don't report. So the few cases where they are reported, this is what the statistics says. But now you can see you are having an average cost in 2018 of 437 per case. Now that is huge. And then as you continue, you are seeing a lot of cases, a lot of loss in terms of 2019. So the question is, so what? How do people commit the crime? And what happens? If the government alone spends 19 billion per year in cybersecurity, and I'm just going to stop my screen share so that I can show you something very small in terms of how this cybercrime takes place. Let me just show you. So I hope everybody can see my screen. You can see I have gone into incognito version. Yes, I hope everybody on Google, as accountants, you know. So if you see, if I go to incognito ground, for example, let me just click for you and you see, there is Google, which can give you the overall surface of the internet. And in this case, you can, your identity is noticed because Google allows a single sign-on. So single sign-on means that they can know your browsing history, what you accessed, they can know your cookies, they can know the information you entered in the forms, they can see the websites you visited, your employer, your internet service provider, and so many information which can identify you. And this is why you remember in Europe around 2017, they issued a law which is called GD, General Data Privacy Act Regulation, GDPR, General Data Privacy Regulation, requiring people who are implementing what we call cookies on their websites to make the visitor know the information which is going to be collected on them. So usually when you are on that general website, which accesses you, the general internet, you are not incognito. So people can see and Google can know what you have entered. But when I go into incognito mode, for example, on Google, you can use Google for incognito, but also you can use an application which is called Orion, which we call the Tor browser. A Tor browser also will give you incognito to go to the dark cloud. Now, when you come to, for example, incognito, you'll realize that cybercrime market where ransomware is on sale. This is what we call darknet. I will use the Orion browser, which I can show you if you don't mind. I know time is running, but sometimes you need to know some of these things. We are not teaching you to for example, commit crime. It is like when at a home you'll find a knife and of course a plate. So somebody can use a knife to do harm. Another person can use a knife to commit crime. So you need to know the skills you get. What is the right thing to use them? Do you use the skills you have got to commit crime or to do good? I can use a knife to do good, and this is what we are asking you. We are ethical people creating awareness so that people, when you are, we say ignorance of the law is not defense, but also lack of ignorance is the worst crime. So we don't want you to not be knowledgeable. And of course, when we are prosecuting people, we look at their mens rea, the intention behind the act. So if you knew what to do, you cannot say I didn't know. That's why we do this. Now, what you can see before you is what we call the Tor browser. In this Tor browser, you install it on your mobile. It is an open source application. Everything you do online is private. So hackers will put what we call ransomware scripts on sites like this. So if you have membership, you can buy a ransomware, for example, a keylogger, you can buy anything, a decryption tool. Now you have seen a lot of ransomware which are sent to many people. You can come to this cloud and buy them. And once you buy it, then you can now begin sending it to others, even when you don't have skills in ICT. Around 2016, we had a staff who was just a cleaner in a given organization. Nobody would suspect them, but the only thing which they did was to look online for people who can do a ransomware, and they learned about how it is done, and they began committing fraud. So after investigating everybody, by the time we got to know, actually, it is the cleaner bringing in a rogue item machine onto the network. It was very difficult because the guy has access to everything. He looks innocent. He's a guy you will never suspect. So, and when you look at his education, he's telling you that he's P7 dropout. You can't imagine how people have increased the sophistication. So I just wanted to show you that online, if you look, these are packages you can buy online. You get your ransomware. Once you get the ransomware, you can access all servers you want. And then now a ransomware is, for example, Windows 10 Pro. Many accountants, they called us accountants who are mean. So you find many accountants, whereas the organization is buying software which is not pirated, it is original from Microsoft. An accountant will go to the black market on Chikuvo and buys Windows 10 Pro and he installs on his laptop, not knowing that this Windows 10 Pro has been put on what we call a dark world. You have bought it from a dark world, so it is a spyware. You put it on your machine, much as it does everything you are doing, in the back end, it is stealing everything which you do. So this is why one of the minimum basic cyber hygiene is, why should you fail to pay, for example, $1,000, that is 3 million, and get an original? You are going to be handling trial balances of financial institutions, of top clients on a pirated, for example, Windows, or pirated Microsoft Office applications. And yet you don't know who is actually collecting the data. So by the time you can get it even at a reduced price, $15, yet everything in your company is being pirated. So that's how we show you about cybercrime online. And that's why you need to be so careful with everything which you are doing online, because you put so many people at risk. So if you look at why do people do this, as you have seen, basically financial gain.
The chairman, Nicholas Mushaventa, explained about cyber criminals, how many people are working remotely. One of the reasons Zoom has got a lot of competitors, it is because of a free version which is being hacked, and people log into they can hear the conversations. And if you look at the data breaches which are taking place, one of the top hospitals in the UK, which is called National Health Services, NHS, had a breach in 2018 where you have around so many patient records have been hacked. Globally, personal medical records is a private information. It is classified very, very confidential. But now you have around 10 million people data records exposed. So you can deny so many people jobs, you can deny them livelihood, they can be segregated and discriminated against. So somebody, when he steals, for example, in your company data of users, they put it on a black market for sale and they get money. The same way I have shown you somebody, cyber criminals sit in a lab, create a lab. The way you would say criminals in the traditional world, they sit in a lab and make these drugs. They sell them in the dark market. Now, these criminals of the cyber one, they create cyber weapons and cyber warfare and put it on the black market. So people go and buy these cyber weapons, which are ready made. The only thing I need to do is to release that cyber weapon. And remember, I'm using the dark world Tor browser, so it is difficult for you to know who could be attacking you. Espionage. US and China are fighting for the domination. The war began dominating the world, now it is dominating space. And if you read the New Vision some time back, I was interviewed and I spoke about how the war now is on satellites. People, developed countries now are setting up their own satellites to do very different things, because you cannot say you are going to be cyber secure when you don't have your own manned satellites. Whoever gives you the infrastructure to communicate is in charge of your cyber security. So you have seen a lot of drawbacks and discouragements into the adoption of 5G, because many countries realized that somehow another country had gone faster when it comes to telecommunication. And so we have seen a lot of theories which may not make sense, that it is driving COVID up, blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line is, when it comes to cyber weaponry, cyber warfare, national security, you need to be in charge of your own network. And the espionage, traditionally people would set up a person, an ambassador or any investigator comes into the country, he gets a job. But with the technology, you are having mobile phones, laptops coming to Uganda as a donation when they already have a rootkit, for example, or not only to Uganda, to any country. So if I want to attack you, for example, traditionally we say, during times like this, you are so much alert when somebody says you are going to change your computer. For example, if I'm a CFO of a given bank, maybe a fraud has taken place in the last 1 month. And then IT comes and says, we are giving you a new machine. When my old machine was working, I'm so concerned, because it is likely that the new machine maybe has got it. That could be very complicated. Pius, please, can you complete?
Thank you very much. During 2019, we have seen how cyber crime turned out in this country. 2020, which started off with the coronavirus pandemic, we have seen indications, even in the last 4 months, where the world, especially Uganda in particular, has gone digital. We have seen lots of threats from our, our clients, those who come to us after they have suffered cyber incidents. So in the report of 2020, that is the Uganda Police Report, which we will be looking at next year, we expect a very high level and a very high increase of these cyber threats, far higher than what we have seen in 2019. So 2020, it will be much higher, because even right now, this event that we are having, it's now digital. Under normal circumstances, it would not have been digital. right now we have seen most schools are adopting, e-learning platforms. People are holding meetings, virtual purchases, online. It's the rate at which things have gone digital and have gone cyber is much more higher. So even the exposure, that is the people at risk, that is the targets, they have widened much more. So we expect to see a very big increase come 2021 when we actually get the reports of what will have happened in 2020. Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you a simple video of how many of us can get hacked. I would like you to listen carefully and watch, and then you tell me what you have seen. Okay, and see that many of us, when we talk about so much, we are talking about
Hello, Mr. Mustafa. Are you there?
We seem to be having a small technical challenge with Mustafa. We are making efforts to contact him, but participants will have clearly seen from the video how much exposed we are. You go online, you put in your information, you think you are secure, whereas in reality, you are not secure. You are carrying on transactions at work, financial transactions. Let us say you are making maybe an online transfer of funds from the company. You're paying the supplier. You think you are secure, yet in reality, you are not secure. You log into your Facebook account. You think you are secure, probably because you are maybe alone in the room, or probably because you are the only person who is looking at the screen, because you feel you have, used your password, which is very strong, and you feel you're basically secure. But the reality is, the moment you go online, chances are very high that unless you have taken the right measures, you are very much exposed, you are very much insecure. And if you look at the video, I'm sure you have seen, the person thought they were very secure, but in reality, they were seated, but they were naked, really as naked as the word itself. So that's the level of risk that we get exposed to whenever we are online. And that's why it's very important that we increase the level of security and to ensure that we are able to keep our credentials as safe as possible. So right now, we are, just for clarity, let us play this video again. Just because the sound didn't come out. We are going to
Hello, Summit Key team.
Okay, we are now moving on to, are you watching the video? You able to hear?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. For those of you who could have missed it. Well, so you have actually seen that indeed we are unsecure. So we are now going into a session of showcasing and doing a demonstration and actually getting to show you live how you know, cyber criminals get into you know, our credentials. But Mustafa seems to have
A team,
resumed the connection.
hello, team from Summit Consulting. There's some information I need to deliver.
Yes, please.
I would like you to summarize within 10 minutes so that we have a clear questions and answers.
Fantastic. No worries. It's okay. We are going to show you a demo on how cyber criminals steal your data from your computer using a tool we call Keylogger. So I'm going to ask my team in the next 10 minutes within the 10 minutes to show you that demo. So Pius, just and Peter, please show the demo and project your screens.
All right, all right. Now, a Keylogger.
We are not seeing your screen.
Oh, okay. We're getting to share the screen. As we get to share the screen, Keylogger is basically a combination of two words, a combination of key and logs. So using a Keylogger, a cyber criminal, an attacker is able to harvest your credentials if you get to type them onto a machine. If you are using your phone to address your bank account and interact, let us say you are at the office and you are making you know, transactions, you're transacting online. If a Keylogger has been installed onto your machine, every single key that you type, the criminal will be getting the details of your username, of your password. You will basically be giving them all the credentials if they have a Keylogger that is installed on your device and it's giving the information that they require. So members, I hope you are able to have a view of our two screens that we are you know, demonstrating.
They are not showing.
They are not yet showing. Okay.
Okay, they are showing now.
All right. All right. So the black screen is the one for the attacker. Okay. And the blue screen, this could be your telephone handset. This could be your laptop at home or at the office, or it could be your desktop, any device that you use, whether to access your Facebook account, whether to access your LinkedIn account, whether you are accessing your bank account, you're transferring money, either mobile money, it could be money held on your account, you're transferring it from one account to another. This is what would actually get to happen. So we are going to show you that as you are typing in your credentials here on your gadget, the attacker is receiving live and real-time information of all the credentials that you are entering in. So here you are thinking that these are private, thinking that because you have a password, because you are alone in a room or at your office, and you think you're safe, you think you are okay. So the device could be given to you. If it's a new phone, somebody can buy and give you a phone, and if they have installed a keylogger, they have access to whatever it is that you are getting to enter using hacking tools. So here we can see Derek at Gmail is trying to log into his account on the blue screen. You are all able to see. It could be a phone, it could be a laptop, it could be a desktop. So after the information has been entered, you can clearly see on the black screen how your username has been harvested. You can clearly see it's there, Derek, and the password which you entered. We'll get to highlight the password here. You can actually see how he has also gotten to harvest the password as well. Okay, we will type in something else, and then you'll actually see how using this keylogger, whatever you're typing in is being captured the other side, because the keylogger tool is installed on your device and it's transmitting information. Whatever key you type onto your device, the information is being transmitted the other side. So here on the blue screen, we access the Google site, and the keylogger transmitted directly the information. All the keys you typed here got transmitted the other side. Lastly, just type the word, we'll type the word webinar here on your device, and you will see how this information is being relayed real time on the device of the cyber criminal. So we've typed ICPAU webinar ongoing. Let us see what is being displayed on the attacker's screen. You can clearly see ICPAU webinar ongoing. We have highlighted it there. You can actually see. So that's how a keylogger can actually be used to access your credentials on whichever gadget it is that you are using. Mustafa? Okay, we seem to be having an internet connection. Internet connection of our colleagues seems to be not very good, but are you able to hear us?
Prayers for and the team for the demo. So from the word, I am having unstable internet. I don't know why, but that is the. I'm using the number one network. I'm using the number one network in Uganda, so I'm sorry for the poor network. So phishing is one of the most common attack vectors, and we can phish your passwords for online banking. We can phish your passwords for social media account. Now, like my chairman, Mr. Nicholas, he said he was a victim of a Yahoo breach. If you don't do basic hygiene of multi-factor, two-factor, or three-factor authentication, you become easier vulnerable to schemes like this. So with this, we know we cannot complete everything which we do in our forensic lab. We would do, usually when we do board training, one of the things we demo for them and the top managers is the practical demos on how this is done so that you understand. So I'm going to ask you to ask questions so that we can do other demos during the question and answer to drive the point home. Thank you very much, ICPAU, for specifically John in Tangaran team, and Nicholas for this opportunity. So we are ready to receive your questions so that we can make the conversation interesting. Remember, at the end, we shall do a quiz for you. I would like you to take that quiz. Thank you.
Okay, that was a wonderful presentation from the team, Summit Consulting Limited. I hope members you're enjoying, as I can see from the chat, no one is complaining. It's good that the information and the message we are having is the best ever. And it's one thing that we need to be cautious of as auditors or accountants who actually keep sensitive information, both personal and at the same time business information. I can see the members. This is, I think, a wonderful session. We've had reached almost 700. We are now in the 600 members. And I think at us of the CPD at a free cost. Thank you, ICPAU, for waiving the cost that you had initially enforced on the CPD. Members, hope you will appreciate the Institute for giving us such knowledge at a free cost. So let's go into the questions. I'll read a set of 5 questions to you, the team, led by Mustafa. Then we answer those and then we come back to the next set of questions. The first, I think you had noted, but I need to get clarification. With the threat of cybercrime to businesses, it is clear there needs to be a shift in conversation if any real improvements are to be made. But what happens if questions about cybersecurity are left unopposed? Do I need to have a designated and trained information security expert on staff or a third-party trusted information security and risk advisor? That's our first. The second question, cybersecurity. Yes, please.
We would appreciate to also be seeing those questions where you are reading from. We are in the Q&A, we don't see the questions you are reading.
Oh, okay. Let me post them.
Where can we? Yes, because we don't want
on the
to
open
them. We want to
on the open session.
On the open session, that is in the okay.
Under the Q&A.
Q&A, okay, fantastic. We can see with the threat of cybercrime in business is clear. That's where you started, right?
I had started from the one you had noted that you'd answer. Now I'm coming back to the open ones.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, the second one, as you can see, I read for the members and yourself. Cybersecurity is real, but how can it be managed? Is it through transferring, insuring, sharing, ignoring? Kindly advise. The third question, provide us with a list of those technical requirements and tools with cost needed to have an effective and efficient cybercrime security systems for, say, an NGO branch in Uganda. Then the fourth question, organizations are increasingly outsourcing their cybersecurity function. How exposed is client data to misuse by these contractors and other third parties? The fifth question for the first set goes, additional guidelines for this is basically from our fellow CPA, Dr. Albert Otete, is also giving us a clarification that NITA has also, and at the same time, the ISAC has given more guidelines on the CPA Uganda. So we appreciate CPA Otete. That's a wonderful contribution. So the fifth question should be, smartphones these days are our moving banks. Therefore, what advice can you provide to increase our protection from cybercrime, even when the phones are stolen? Let's have those, then we shall get back to more.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairman. The first question is, based on what I have read, is with the threat of cybercrime business, it's clear there is need to shift in the conversation if any real improvements are to be made. What happens if questions about cybercrime are left unopposed? Do I need to have a designated and trained information security expert on staff to answer information security? Okay, thank you very much, members, and thank you very much, Chairman. What we have seen currently is two things which have happened from a governance point of view. One, bodies have specified
At Peter and Pius, please, in case anything goes wrong with Mustafa, you always need to chip in.
That's fine. Okay, I hope we have lost Mustafa. Well, nevertheless, to respond to the first question, that with the threat of cybercrime to businesses, it is clear there needs to be a shift in conversation if any real improvements are to be made. But what happens if questions about cybersecurity are left unposed? Do I need to have a designated and trained information security expert on staff or a third-party trusted information security and risk advisor? This question has already been given some indicative answer, but to just reiterate, I think you need both. One is you need to have a security expert on board. That is, if as an organization you are able to afford having an information security expert on board. But just in case you are not able to have a full-time security expert on board, then you have to work with a trusted information security and risk advisor. These, the advisor will be able to give you the necessary training. They will be able to give you the necessary beef up. For example, we are working with banks that have internal security staff, very well trained and qualified. But to be able to review their security posture and assess their vulnerabilities, many banks and institutions come to us because we have that extra notch, you know, above what they have internally, and we have the other entities in their managed. Is it through transferring? Is it through insuring? Is it through sharing? Is with cybersecurity risk? One is you can insure, well and good, but even far above insurance, because insurance has its limits, you need to be aware. Once you are aware, then you are 80% protected. Once you are aware and you have made your staff aware that they should not get to click any email that they receive at any halfway protected. Once you are aware about what you are supposed to do, it's like, health. Once you are aware of what to do in order to maintain your health, then you are much more better off than the person who even takes on health insurance.
Okay, Pius, you are breaking. I don't know whether I can continue from here.
Oh, we'll be back. You can continue, I think. That's fine.
Yes.
So insurance, actually sometimes do, but the most important is you. Mustafa, over to you.
Yeah, he has answered the first question. So you can take
over. Yes, Okay, so, and also number two, I think he has answered. Number two, he has tried on insurance. What we have seen is many banks have tried to buy insurance, but it is becoming increasingly expensive for insurance companies because banks are not putting in place what we call minimum precautions. We would like a bank, for example, to have real-time capture of all logs on their network, or to an offsite location which even is not accessible to IT people. You find that this is not possible. So even when we come in as forensic investigators to identify a threat, you find logs have been tampered with, things have been tampered with, so it becomes very difficult to provide assurance that you're able to know who did what, where, when, and how, because minimum things were not done. So much as the insurance is good and we see increasing cyber insurance as a product, it is becoming bad in the sense that banks are failing to embrace the whole package, because insurance would like you to put in place minimum things for cyber hygiene, and then so that your premium is not too expensive. Then it provides us the list of those technical requirements and tools with the cost needed to have an effective. What we have seen in Uganda, many banks and other organizations have established what we call a SOC, Security Operations Center, but at the end of the day, it is somehow limited capacity. In addition to the Security Operations Center, you need to establish a real-time ongoing threat intelligence. When you establish a SOC, a Security Operations Center, the assumption is that the problem is only outsiders. But we have seen in Uganda where banks or institutions have lost money, 80% there has been an insider involvement. So, and some of these involvement have included people in critical functions, including ICT department. So meaning that a SOC itself is not adequate. You must establish a SOC internally to manage the threat. That's good. But also you need to have threat intelligence, which even IT is not aware of, which it cannot access, so that if the threat, people stealing from you are coming from inside, you have assurance that you are going to know that where this threat came from. So this is why we are seeing an increasing cybersecurity as a service component being invested in, and where it is working, this is also helping to reduce the overall cost of insurance premium for cybercrime. So we recommend that in addition to the internal technical capacity for Security Operations Center, there must also be a security as a service to a third-party threat intelligence, where you are able to know common threats, where are they coming from, are they internal, are they external? If they're internal, which department or which particular endpoints or users on the network are having this traffic. Currently, we are having a big problem where you have allowed people to access your critical operations from remotely because of COVID. So if you only have a SOC internally, it is likely that you may fail to get who did it, because if there is involvement of the internal people. And then of course you are saying, provide us the list of those technical requirements and tools. So I can give you, if you search in Google, SOC, Security Operations Center, it is a standard, it has a standard components of establishing an internal cyber lab for purposes of managing. But you need to remember that in IT security, in addition to everything you do at a technical level, there is a need for good IT governance. So in addition, if you enforce IT governance, especially change management procedures, segregation of duties, and then of course, having people who are in charge of the database, not being in charge of the network, and having somebody who reviews them, these kind of basic things are very important. So by the time you bring our own threat intelligence, it means that you find the environment already clean, because we are going to recommend to you that for your critical items in the network, have ongoing monitoring. If anybody changes on a database, you get an SMS notification. If you have your top 20 customers in terms of money deposits or bank balance, you want to know who has removed which money at which time, because if you don't monitor that, then it becomes very difficult. So that's what I can say in terms of the cost of technical requirements. Search in Google SOC or Security Operations Center, search in Google endpoint protection, you will be able to get these kind of things. But also we can give you, if you give an email in this chat and you allow ICPAU to send us, we shall send this PowerPoint presentation to ICPAU. We shall also send the list of minimum tools to establish a very good security operations center, so that when you are putting in your budget, you are able to manage. But also, we recommend that at least every 6 months, any time you get a new board member, you train them. Anytime you get a new staff, a new partner, train them in ongoing cyber awareness, because there is no patch to human stupidity. And then we have organizations are increasingly outsourcing their cybersecurity function. How exposed is the client data to misuse by these contractors? It is like saying that many people are increasingly going to see medical doctors and they are checking them. How exposed are their health? Or many people are going to sleep. What is the risk that they will die while asleep? You see, or saying that many organizations are allowing auditors to come and audit their accounts. How secure is this data? There is what we call the rules of the trade, the professional responsibility and due care and skill. When you do this, we are certified ethical hackers. We have code of ethics. We are certified forensic investigators. We have code of ethics. We are certified public accountants. We have code of ethics. So this is why you see central bank passed a regulation that if you are going to audit banks, you should also have capacity to audit their ICT systems, but an audit firm. Because according in the wisdom of the central bank is if you are an auditor, then you have a professional body which is going to hold you accountable. So this is why you see when this data is being managed by a third party, you are putting a service level agreement and expectations of that particular professional. So if you find somebody is not certified, is just on the street and is putting themselves that they can do cybersecurity, maybe you are accepting the risk. It is like going to a traditional doctor in the village and expecting them to keep your data. So that's why we are having standardization, and I think it is very important as accountants to also have partners like ourselves whom you can work with, because you know they are professional. They have been doing this since 2007, but also they have the professional responsibility of due care and skill. I think that's what I can say to that question, because to move, technology has been evolving. We are talking about machine intelligence, Internet of Things, where technically your telephone, even your refrigerator in the home is collecting data about you in terms of how often you put things in the fridge, which kind of items do you eat often from the fridge. So it has a lot of information. If somebody wants to hack into you, it becomes very easier. So because of that, you do what we call, you trust the system and the professional responsibility for due care, other than being worried about confidentiality and these kind of things. We say in our language, agenda mkivira tatine kikakuchweka. When you go to the forest, you are not so much scared and you don't stop because anything is breaking. So as long as you use technology, you must accept, because with technology, we are seeing a lot of our country loses almost, I would say, a lot of money, 10% of the money in support services from people coming from abroad. Now you can imagine these people, sometimes they do a remote access with currently COVID. Many people are having a back-end access to critical platforms at national level. Now, how sure these people are not doing espionage? They are not doing intellectual property theft. They are not doing manipulations and causing data, adding details in the database which are not allowed. So that's why when you have another person, intelligence globally works in a way that one person is going to investigate another and another. So the more layers you have of different independent assurance, the more you are secure. Otherwise, you are going to be exposed. Finally, smartphones these days are our moving banks. Therefore, what advice can you give to increase on our protection from cyber crime, even when phones are stolen? Phones have been set up to self-destruct. If I'm using, I'm not bragging, just to tell you because it is true. I'm using an iPhone X11. That is iPhone 11. Now, in the iPhone 11, just like in all iPhones, you have an option to have an application. If I put my password 2 times and it is wrong, it should self-destruct. And you can put the level of self-destruction. It can self-destruct every data on the phone completely goes.
It can self-destruct, including my cloud Apple account details. It can be destroyed. This is the power technology is giving us, because so if you come and seize my mobile phone during an investigation and I suspect it has confidential company data, and you know I will give you my password 2 times intentionally, knowing that it will self-destruct, and even me, I will never recover it. So you can set up the policy. This is why we say bring your own policy as a rule in organizations. It is a new development which has been happening. So what I'm asking you is to always read the instructions and make the most of your tool. Most of the time you come to people on their computers and you do a basic security assessment. You find that, I know somebody has asked a question that during the demo, they noticed we are using Windows 7, which is already abstract. It is because from an ethical hacking point of view, we don't want to use productive servers which are still in production, where you increase people's alarm. I want you to know that there is what we call zero-day exploit. If you go to a website, www.securityfocus.com, I'm going to type it here, www.securityfocus.com. In securityfocus.com, I have put it on the chat. You are going to find zero-day exploits which are in new applications, which even the vendor like Microsoft has not yet addressed themselves and fixed. There are so many. So the only solution with that is you have personally to be alert and practice practices which will keep you safe, so that you don't recklessly go. So we use, for example, Windows Server 2017 because ours is not do harm. In a real life environment, there is no system which is 100% secure, whether we are using Windows 7 or Windows 2019 or any environment. We can find from Secure Focus or the site where they sell free ransomware and also craft custom scripts. You can always get this kind of scripts and use them. So these are the 5 set of questions. I don't know whether my colleagues have what to add, but we can go to another set. I see we have still a certain minute, so we still have this conversation. We can keep moving on. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Nicholas, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CPA Mugisa. That was a wonderful response, and I believe those who asked questions actually benefited. In case you still have any question, please go ahead and post. We are still answering. The next set of questions, the first one comes from Jacinta, who says, let me see. Which departments are more prone to committing cyber crimes and comes from inside the organization? Is it finance, IT, management, or HR?
So then, can I answer one by one?
No, I need to give you a file set.
Fantastic, no worries. I wish my colleague, you are sharing them, my team was sharing them on my Skype. I will request them to do the same. Thank you. We continue.
But I believe they can access them through the Q&A. It's open.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, the next question is from Apple. Knowledge is, what sorts of anomalies would you look for to identify a compromised computer system? The next question comes from still also Apollo. Do you have an idea how far cyberbullying is prevalent in Uganda? The next comes from Mary. Does this mean that when I pay license, I'm safe? Then the last one, how best can we protect our from hackers? You can have those, then we shall add more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether my colleague Pius wants to attempt or I first continue. Okay, so Jacinta, which departments are more prone to committing cybercrime that comes from inside the organization? Is it finance, IT, management, or HR? Usually, what we are trying to do when it comes to cyber risks, we don't like to generalize. You see, this is all about data and facts.
what we have done for some of our clients, we put what we call threat intelligence. So when you have threat intelligence, ideally each and every person on the network who accesses your resource has got what we call a domain account, which I'm happy to say every organization now has. And each person with a domain account has got what we call a MAC address, which we call the endpoint. So you are able to put the IP address of a person plus the MAC address of the person on the network, plus the person's domain name. So when you capture this information, at any time, even if you use a remote desktop and somebody makes a connection to your machine, you are able to know with precision where the attack originated from. The problem is there is people in organizations have selfish interests. Some of them fight implementing controls which will give you so like 80% or 90% assurance that if a fraud takes place, will be captured. Because when we talk about threat intelligence, you are monitoring at network level from the point at which you connect a connection from the internet, but that is a firewall will capture all logs and put them offsite. Any connection to your network from the internet will be captured. But then also from inside, now if the firewall is capturing it from the outside, from people outside your network, the question is, how about people inside the network? So this is why at any network device level, even the transport layer or any layer within your TCP IP model, we are able to capture all logs and users within the network. So you know for each user you have their domain name, for each user you have their MAC address of the machine they're using, for each user you have their IP address. So these three things will identify the fraudster. So now when we analyze at the end of the month who access to which resource, for example, it is a crime for you to have only view rights in the top accounts of the organization, to find that you are viewing, for example, a space account, which is a reserve in the trial balance, which is a reserve for finance. So why should a tailor be interested in viewing a suspect account for which they are not supposed to have rights? So most of the time, IT will tell you, we have done a user matrix, this is not possible. But when we come from an ethical hacking point of view, we try to prove exploit. So we will be able to see this. Now, after that, you are able to see where a lot of attacks are coming from for your own organization. Because if I generalize and say, most of the time, IT has been involved in a fraud, you may unnecessarily go and fix IT when actually in your company, IT is not prioritized, has no budget, has only 2 or 1 staff, in which case you are saying that your business is going to run by IT, but you have not invested in the kind of people you need. When we look at the kind of IT structure setup, you find that it is set up to fail. 90% of the budget for even basic maintenance is being done by outsiders. Then you wonder, how can a bank which is running on IT 90% of its strategy have 90% services being run by a third party? It is already a risk. So I cannot answer this question in a generalized way. But what I can say, it requires you to capture your own data so that insights and data inform your decisions. From Project Frontline report, we have seen a lot of frauds coming from both IT and finance. Many of the time when this IT, finance, and bank operations, most of the time a fraud has been there, these people have been part of the problem, basically. Management and HR, most of the time, for example, at one time we found the ED's computer had been used in the fraud, but the ED didn't know. So when we tried to do general cleaning of the computer to assess it, whether it has keyloggers, blah, 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 we found it had a remote desktop, and there was a live IP address through the remote desktop, through the computer, within like 1 week. So meaning that somebody connected to the ED's computer and then you made instructions to the server through the ED. So when you try to investigate, you find the ED is the person. But when you realize that the person is telling you he has an alibi, he was not in office, he did come to the office, the only problem they made is to keep their laptop on the internet, on the network, and it is on. That's all.
but you could say that maybe the personal assistant can somebody can call them and say, we are going to service your computer, just put it on. So innocently, and the computer is on. So that's why we like to mainly focus on the data. We set up threat intelligence internally, reconfigure the firewall you have, collect data from the outside the network, collect data inside the network, independently assess this data, and then we give you ongoing reports live or weekly, but then you know where the threat is. Pius, should I continue or you have something to say?
Thank you very much, Barnabas. You have put it very clearly. The question basically was asking whether the threat can come from north or south or east or west. The answer is the threat can come from anywhere, as long as the person gets to access a computer and as long as they know what to do. They could be in HR, they could be in IT, they could be anywhere, and they can, masquerade. They can use tools. They can hide themselves. You might think it's coming from finance, whereas it's actually coming from, elsewhere. So be all round protected. That would be my answer.
Fantastic. Then knowledge is power. What sort of anomalies would you look for to identify a compromised computer or system? Most of the time, if you go to the computer system, you realize that it is behaving slower than usual. If you have a computer which is iCore 5, 6, 7, or 8, new generation, but it is taking almost 1 to 2 minutes to start up. And when you look at its RAM, it is something like maybe 16 GB of RAM. It is technically has a very fast processor, but it is slow. So this means somebody could be using it. Sometimes you can be on your machine and then you see it suddenly slows down. So even when you go to Control-Alt and delete to see the running application present, you find so many programs which are starting. Another thing you can find on program on startup of your computer, there are many. What we know is most of the time is computer slowdown, and also another thing is the continuous changes of the machines people are using. Also, another thing you can see is basically the best thing is you cannot say, you look at symptoms and say, this is very good. Like you feel, and you go to hospital when you feel you are almost not eating. So this is why we recommend people bring their computers to our lab, and we test for spyware or malware in the computer using specific tools which do the testing. This means that if you are deliberately interested, if you get a laptop, you need to look at the apps which have been installed. Many of the times, the keyloggers are kept on what we call the kernel. The kernel of a computer is a point where the operating system meets the hardware. So even if you uninstall, because the keylogger is on the kernel level, you will uninstall an operating system, it will remain there. So the best way to do is to do a kernel threat assessment by looking at the server, the processors, which are, whether the hardware itself. If you come to our lab, we open the computer down and you look at it from an independent point of view. But general slowness of the system, of the computer, which is good, is a red flag. If you are opening an application, it is moving slow, that is a red flag. Sometimes you are typing things and they are delaying, that is a red flag. Take the computer to IT if they know what to do, but if they are the one who put it, then you may need to come to independent people like Summit Consulting or Institute of Forensics. Peter will check it for you and give you data. Do you have an idea how far cyberbullying is prevalent in Uganda? If you look at the Uganda police report, which we showed you, 26% of the cases were cyber harassment and cyberbullying. As we said, cyberbullying and harassment is like rape. Many victims don't report. So the problem is so big, and we recommend that personally, there is 2 theories. You do security online by hiding, in which case you are not online, or security online in plain view. You put your own information there, but you are careful with which kind of information you put. because we don't believe that you can succeed as an accountant in the fourth industrial revolution by being away from the internet, we recommend you do security in plain view. You put your online and do your marketing, but practice high-level cyber hygiene. Only be in charge of the information you can share. As an investigator, I get so much concerned when I find a person like Albert Otete or John Intangare, very senior person in Uganda. You find that you don't have anything online. You search on Facebook, they are not there. It means that I will find you. And when I find you, the information I will get from you is too much, because there is nobody who cannot fail to have what we call digital footprint. Does this mean that when I pay for Microsoft license, I am safe? Yes, of course. Globally, what is happening is many countries are trying to do their own investment. When you pay Microsoft license, you have an undertaking with Microsoft that only the things you allow them to collect from your machine, they will collect. However, when you don't pay the license, it means that Microsoft is not giving you that guarantee. So this is why globally, for softwares, we find there is open source software, which is available for anybody who knows what to do, and bespoke or owned copyrighted software, which is available by licensed companies. So software licensed by companies, you want to use the safest version of what they have given you so that you can keep on doing what we call updates and upgrades. For example, Windows 2007 was discontinued and we got Windows 10. What does that mean? It means Windows 2007 had so many loopholes that even if you patched it up, it couldn't. It is like you have a jerrycan at home, it has got a hole, it is leaking, you can try to patch it up, it can keep working, but it reaches a level where patching it cannot work anymore. The only way you do is to buy a new one. So this is why you see Microsoft said, we are tired of patching Windows 7. It cannot go anywhere. The best way is to upgrade, to go to Windows 10. So if you are using Windows 7, for example, it means it is so much with so many holes that instantly you go online, all hackers will be taking over your computer. This is why at one time, that is recently, 2019, we were doing a pen test in one of the financial institutions. We found one of the servers which is put there for a service from the central service had the Windows 2007 running a Windows Server 2007 running a critical application which is on the network. It is like a time bomb, and it had a ransomware. The only thing which had helped is nobody had gone to that computer to open an application. Otherwise, the bank would have been gone kaput. So that's why we recommend that you use the most recent releases and keep your systems up to date. So you spend that little money, get a Windows license, and remember to keep Windows update on. It is a basic cyber hygiene. The same way we would say, when you have a door at your home, remember before you sleep to check whether it is locked or not. And then finally, how best can we protect our phones from hackers? The best way to protect your phones from hackers is one, smile because you have a phone. But most importantly, do not download any apps which you see shared on email, on social media, on WhatsApp, on Skype, on things like this. Avoid downloading any videos and messages you see on WhatsApp. Download the mobile applications which you know, which you need. If you come on my phone, you'll find that I have the only few approved Microsoft applications. I have App Store, I have settings, I have camera, I have clock, and those few ones, and then Zoom. The rest, and then Google, I can only download from authorized non-big companies. But these simple applications, which many of you are downloading games, you don't know them. You'll find that some of them have rootkits and spyware, which every time you are using them, they are attacking you. So to be safe on your mobile phone, one, avoid the unnecessary downloads of so many applications you might not need. And if you find an application you don't understand, delete them. But most importantly, search on Google, how do I check for rootkit on my phone, and see how the instructions, then you can remove it or bring it to our lab, and then you can remove it. Thank you. Pius, anything else, or we give to the chairman, Mr. Nicholas?
Yes, I think you've answered it terribly well. Thank you so much, Mustafa.
Okay, that's still another great responses. I just love the way you're responding, and I believe most of the questions, all the questions have been well answered. When I look through the Q&A, good enough, most of the next questions, some of them are similar. So some of them I will just compile them and you answer them at once. Since time is almost, is not our friend so far. I will start with the next question, which comes, remember I do first come, first serve. So I just do in that order. From Yasin, do you recommend one to use TOR browser? Is it free and how secure is it? The next set of questions, I'll combine them and you answer them as one because I believe, even based on your understanding, you clarify, they seem to be requiring their similar response. The one is from Jacinta, says, how do I do a quick sweep of my device to know whether I have any malware on my device, e.g. the keylogger, and remove any phone? It's going to be combined with the next one from Mbabas, who says, advise on how these keyloggers are deployed and the best mechanism to protect our laptops and handsets. At the same time, with the next question, how can I ensure that a keylogger is not installed on my computer or phone? At the same time, the next question from Sedu, how can I detect a keylogger installation on my device? The next question also still in the same line from Mbabas, how can you know that you have been attacked or compromised by the keyloggers? This is with reference to a person not proficient in IT. Still also another question of the same, with the same response I expect is from Beziro Kello. How do I check for a keylogger or any hacking software installed in my devices? Still also another anonymous attendee asked for a similar question. How does a keylogger looks like? Or how can one know that a device has a keylogger? All those are just for the same response. So I'll go to a next one, which seems to be unique from Dr. Albert. Given that cybercrime costs Uganda about 1% of GDP per annum, do we have enough qualified professional, in brackets CH or CSX, in Uganda? If not, how do we scale up our own capacity to fight cybercrime? That's mean that the third question, still this other one from Doreen to Highway, the same similar question on the keyloggers. I don't need to talk about it. You get answers from the previous questions. From Luth Mirembi, still maybe a little bit different. Is a scam a type of cybercrime? That would be a fourth question. Then the fifth question is, given the fact that one cannot be protected completely from cyber attacks, what other ways can one be prepared to capture evidences to be used to apprehend the attackers? Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I think ICPAU got to the right chairman, man. Nicholas, you are ahead. So, and members, you're asking very good questions. It is also very good to know that accountants are awake and alert to this problem of cybercrime. The question began with, okay, do you recommend want to use TOR browser? Is it free and how secure is it? In the global Internet of Things, there is the normal website, which is the open web, where everyone who has just got a computer will access. And then there is what we call the dark web, where you can only access if you are on TOR browser. TOR browser is a browser which has been developed by people who are promoting online freedoms.
and the free use of reuse, so that there is limited controls by governments and restrictions. So this is why probably when you are in China, chances of accessing your Facebook account through TOR browser are high than if you used the general open internet. So TOR browser is free because of that, and because it is an open source, it has an ongoing growing community where everybody is assessing it, and it is a project which is secure to that level. I hope that I have answered. So I can say in terms of security, we cannot say there is, it also depends on user, members, are we together? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, so the TOR browser depends on, I can see my time is going, I'm going to be faster. It depends on user knowledge. If I'm using TOR browser on a virtual machine, it is different if I'm using a TOR browser on my common phone or laptop. So I'm going to request that people register, visit www.forensicinstitute.org if you allow me, so that you can learn basic, we call it certified secure user, secure computer user, secure mobile phone user. You learn basic precautions for using your mobile phone and laptop, so that you learn things like TOR browser. It is free. I would encourage everybody to use it. Only if you are going to be doing things for which you don't want to be, you are catchy to be taken to know who you are. So it is free, and we can say it is secure. So when you are going to buy things now in the dark market, which we call dark web and deep web, you can't go into the deep web or dark web unless you are on a TOR browser. But in the deep web, you'll find so many, it is another world. The way you see websites are accessed at open web. Now in the dark web, you will find things which are only limited through membership, because you can't see other things. Then you have things like, how do I do a quick sweep of my devices to know whether I have any malware on my device? It is like saying, how do I do my own health check to see whether I'm sick or not? People will touch on their breast to see whether they are sick, or they will wait to have a stomach pain to see whether so it is not recommended. You need to, first, when you understand cybersecurity awareness by doing training, you can understand these basics. The alternative is to come to professionals and learn, or you do a smaller course. You can do a short course on Udemy or any other environment, but that will help you to learn. Even at Summit Consulting, we can give you a short course for free to test your threat, and you can do your own quick sweep. For example, in the computer, there is an application we call spyware checker. So these are available in the dark web. Personally, you might not, at your level, you might not see it. So that's why you need to go to a right person who has the right tool to even to interpret the results. But also there are many other Kali Linux sleuth kit, sort of so many tools you can use. You need to be professional and knowledgeable. Advice on how keyloggers are deployed and the best mechanism to protect them. The way we deploy keyloggers or hackers deploy them is called the vectors, attack vectors. The first attack vector is via emails. When you receive an email, click on the links. You can, in the background key, install keyloggers. The best way to protect that is many banks or people who are secure, they have a user account, not administrator account. An average person who owns a laptop will log in as an administrator. However, to avoid installing things in the back end of your program, what you use is you don't operate on an admin account. You create on your laptop a user account, and that is an account you'll keep using. So that if a program is installing in the back end, it will say they need an administrator password. Unless you are so much insecure that somebody has to escalate their privilege when they have logged in. But that will make it will limit the exposure you have, because the cost of escalating privilege may be too expensive. So somebody may just give up. So this is why we recommend on a user device, log in as a user instead of an admin. And many banks, I would say, they have done this. But also many banks, what they have done is when you send an email from outside the bank, it will show that this email is from outside. But of course, the attackers also evolve. They can use now another computer to send the email to another person when we are doing social engineering using email. So the best way to avoid, so that is one. The second way is on social media. I send a picture or a video on WhatsApp. As you download it, it is installing an application into the kernel of the phone. So for you are laughing about the skits which people have done, when actually in the back end it has a keylogger. This is why you must be very careful downloading the videos in groups, or you change your WhatsApp from a default download so that you can only watch the video and don't download it on your mobile phone. So that you reduce the risk of having a keylogger into your phone or into your laptop. But many times also on your own social media, Skype links which come and you download them. And the biggest threat is downloading free softwares from websites which are not official. You go to, for example, a spyware. I can ask you just to show some sources where you can get free software on internet. And so you find maybe all kinds of softwares are available, dumped on a given website, but you don't know who are the people who put this software there. So when you download it, it is installing is spyware. Just you can be showing that one so that they can see. I hope I don't have time to answer all questions. How can I ensure keylogger is not installed on my computer? I think we explained that one. It depends on the speed and response of your phone, depending on its age and quality. But the most important thing, you come and we do a keylogger malware scanner so that you can see it is not there. These are specialized programs which will be able to identify keyloggers at kernel level. Many keyloggers which are available, you can identify them at only what we call application layer, at the level of your applications. If you go to Windows and go to add or remove applications, you'll find so many applications. So we are not saying those are basic, but we want one which can detect at that layer. And then how can you know that you have been hacked or attacked? I answered this question. How do I check for a keylogger? We also answered that one. Dr. Albert, given that cybercrime costs Uganda about 1% of the GDP per annum, do we have enough qualified professional, certified ethical hacker or certified security from ICPAU in Uganda? If not, how do we scale up our own capacity to fight cybercrime? I'm happy that ICPAU has organized this platform because it is promoting awareness. And we are trying to work with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda to add a cybercrime and cyber training course as part of the ongoing CPDs for members. But most importantly, aware of this problem in Uganda, we have realized that the language of technology is the same, and we are spending a lot of money because these things are too expensive. So we registered an Institute of Forensics and IC Security, went to Uganda National Council for Education and got accredited. So we have a diploma to help people who are at senior 4, senior 6, and the people in the working place. So they can come and enroll on that diploma. This is to help improve awareness. The diploma is cheap, but in terms of fees, but it helps you to learn a lot of skills. So, and also it saves you a lot of money because the way technology security in Uganda is the same as in Europe. The only thing you need is to have something which is cheap and scalable. Also, we have got what we call certified secure computer user, certified hacking forensic investigator. So this course combines many courses which are available globally, like CH, you have CSX, you have CISM. So we tried to combine so many courses into one so that somebody can, within 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month, get a lot of skills to learn at a cheaper cost. So that's how we are trying to add value to grow the profession in the country. Globally, when you travel, I am happy that I've been privileged to travel to countries like China at a higher level, to travel to countries like Europe and see the cyber weaponry and cyber warfare capabilities. You have to empower the middle class, you have to empower younger Ugandans to be at the forefront of cyber strategy. And what does it mean? Cybercrime topics are included in A level in the training, then and included ongoing words. At senior 4, people are aware because everybody is having mobile phones, even children. So this means that if you are going to be competitive in the next generation, people have to access cheap, low-cost cybercrime skills. And we are happy that we have this forum. And I would encourage you to visit our website since ICPAU has allowed us to say this. I think that is very important. So that's what we are doing. the only problem is the general feeling that cybersecurity trend in Uganda is not as good as cybersecurity trend in America. And we have to wake up and accept this. Finally, given the fact that one cannot be protected completely from cyber attack, what ways can one be prepared to capture evidences to be used to apprehend attackers? The best way is prevention. So this is why the beginning point when we go to companies is to do what we call cyber resilience setup. What is cyber resilience? Stronger IT governance. There is a model. You look at COBIT, ISO 27000, and the ITIL frameworks. They will and NIST models. You can choose any of those models. You have a very good framework for governance. The next thing is capturing logs independently. Do ongoing backups and capture all logs, both from the firewall and from the inside, the way I explained, and put this aside where even IT cannot access them. So that in case of an incident, even before you report, the independent provider who is managing your independent threat intelligence and security operations center has already got the information. So even if the internal SOC had failed to see it, you already have all the logs of how people entered, and it becomes very easier. It is like, for example, if you go to UK, you'll find that what the government has done is, UK is one of the most CCTV, they have so many CCTVs per capita in the world. How they have done it, government has set up CCTV in public squares or places, but then their network links to the private CCTVs. If I have a home, they link me into that network. So effectively, you can see anything. So if people came to my home, broke into my home, and they even installed the security camera, I have 100% assurance that even if they leave me dead, the government will know who went there because the coverage is also picked and stored at national database. So this is the kind of setup companies which are appreciating technology are putting in place, whereby you are capturing logs independently of the IT, not because you don't trust them, because you want a second layer of confidence that whoever steals from us, we shall get. And that's why fraud has been increasing, because people know the chances of not being caught are very high. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, members. Sorry for cutting beyond the time allowed. You have been a fantastic audience. For more of these conversations, you are free to continue it privately on our site, which has been shared, and also our forum. Thank you. God bless.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CPA Mugisa, AKA Mr. Strategy. I think you deserve the name. I was wondering where the name came from, but from your presentation, there's no doubt about it. The entire team of Summit Consulting, your presentation and the message that you've delivered is the best ever. And I think it's the reason in the previous webinars, we sometimes they would be even closed before 4 p.m. But imagine right now, more than 50% of the questions are still not yet answered, and we've already run out of time just because I think the members are so happy and the information that is supposed to be delivered and they are interested in is so much relevant, especially with the prevailing conditions where we are working remotely and everything is being digitized, everything is electronically. So cybersecurity and the threats and how to manage the IT risks, I think it's more important than anything else if our businesses are to survive and ensure our clients' information and our personal information is actually kept confidential and it's not exposed to any attack. Members, you will please forgive us. Our time is not our friend. For the questions that have not been answered, please just note that you can share them through the email as per the ICPAU practice. You've always been told in case of any question, just share them through the email. Our expert will clearly give you the best responses that you're looking for. It's on this note that if I had a chance, I would clap for the presenters and the members. I would have loved at your own desks and wherever you are. Let's appreciate and give a thumbs up to our presenter and the entire team from Summit Consulting. You guys, I think you're the best. Have to get in touch with you personally. It seems there's something that we need to actually appreciate. with the current prevailing conditions. I need to request anyone from the Institute, please, for your remarks and any information that you'd like to put forward from my side. Unless otherwise, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. On behalf of the Secretariat, we thank you for conducting today's session and sharing it ably. We also like to thank the summit team led by CPA Mustafa for generously sharing information on cybersecurity. Mr. CPA Mugisa, we are really very grateful. Our next webinar is on integrated reporting, and it will be on 5th August. I wish to remind you that we have our AGM tomorrow. Make sure you have registered and you attend. It starts at 11. I know the lockdown the curfew hours have been extended, but the jam starts now. So we want to wish you a blessed evening and travel safely home. Thank you.
Thank you very much and God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye all. Stay safe. COVID is for real also.
There's a link we're supposed to share with you on cybersecurity that you're going to fill in. It is a quiz. It has answers on it. So once you fill these questions, you'll get answers to it that you can use to check yourself whether you really know about the session that we've had now. And we're going to share the link on the comment section now. For those who are still on, you can then fill in that. It has answers on it. Once you're done with the quiz, it will query you. It shows you the marks you've scored, and then you'll get the results after that. So the link is getting shared.
Post the
That's
link.
fine then.
Hello? Yeah?
I think we have shared the link. You can see the link?
Yeah, we
So
can
you
see
can
it.
do it at your leisure, share to all other members who may need it. You can even ask your staff in your company to also take the quiz. It is a self-test and you see the answer, how you fare. If you get less than 40 or even 50, then problems. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you so much.